What up, what up, what up? I'm Brand Man Sean, and we are back with another episode of No Labels Necessary podcast. You can catch us every Tuesday, every Thursday on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever you stream your podcast, here at the intersection of creative and currency. Here today, we got some hot topics for you guys. Number one, we got to let you know, really, are publicist scammers or not? We're going to give you the news on how it really works today. Also, is rapping about things that you don't do corny? LaRussell has some words for y'all and a lot of other dope topics. But first and foremost, we got to start here because 90% of artists misconstrue what it takes to win in the music industry, largely misunderstanding this one particular detail. Check out this quote from Taz Taylor from Internet Money talking about it. And I quote, he says, "Welcome to 2023. You can spend a whole year on an album, but if you don't want to take 15 minutes to make a TikTok, a label ain't going to give a fuck how much time you spent on it. Sad reality, but I know how many are dealing with this. Not all artists are entertainers." That is a mouthful. He says so many things. Not all artists are entertainers. The quote of the day, and a lot of what I want to say actually stems from that, like the reality of that on how successful you can be or not, right? But then there's other things we can get into. Most artists don't understand that the value that comes from how they capitalize on their work is not from the music itself in most cases. It actually is in the entertainment value.
Yeah.
Right? And it's weird because, yes, we're musicians, so they come for us because of our music. They come for us because they find our music entertaining. You know what I mean? And if we look at the people who last the longest in the game and do the best, all of them are entertainers. All the GOATs that most people allude to, they might not be your GOATs. However, when you look at a Beyonce, when you look at a Usher, when you look at a Michael Jackson, a Bobby Brown, or a Taylor Swift, or whoever the hell you find to be a GOAT, typically at whatever level, you can go down even to the Pharrells and the Tyler, the Creators, or whoever. These people find a way to entertain as well. And many of the people that we look at the most as the artistic GOATs, right? Not just, oh, you're commercial success and you're not an artist. Even the people that we look at as an artist, if we know about them, especially on that level, because they were able to entertain us again and again and again. Kanye West, right? See another example. I don't think a lot of artists respect that part of the game enough, realizing that, no, you are here to entertain, because that entertainment is how I maintain people's attention. That's how you don't get like people skipping your video on YouTube, right? Or skipping your song on Spotify. All of this is just an attention economy. And now that you have them listening to your music or consuming your brand, whatever way, you can then continue to monetize. And since you can monetize, companies and publications are going to continue to support you and can figure out how they can cap off of your name because you are entertaining and you're grabbing attention. That is the game. So not all artists being entertainers, that is a fact. But also you got to acknowledge artists don't respect the fact that what many of them want actually requires you to be an entertainer. You don't have to be an entertainer to be successful in music, right? There's plenty of people who are making good money behind the scenes or with careers that aren't necessarily like commercial and entertainment on that, like in their winning by their own account. However, I think the dissonance comes with the fact that, one, many artists want something and they don't realize to get there, I need to be an entertainer. That is a part of the package. Or the label is investing in something because they want to get there, and that's the package required for them to get there. It's like, yo, I'm putting this money in because I'm trying to cap at the highest level. The level I want to get to requires an entertainer. But you're like, nah, bro, I'm good, like, making my music. I'm living a life. I'm already making in meals. I collaborate with all the cool people that I want to collab with. I don't need anything else from this. And the label's like, yeah. Exactly. So that's my first thought when I think about this entertainment shit.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if it's not respected. I think artists just learn how hard it really is. Like, I think being a decent entertainer I think is harder than being a good music artist.
Hot take of the day.
No, but for real, I think about that because in order to be a good entertainer, one of the base values of it is something that most artists don't even like to admit, which is, hey, I am creating and doing for you.
That is true.
You have to kind of relinquish and understand, like, I'm doing this for the crowd, right? Artists are there, like, no, I'm making music for me. I'm expressing how I feel, right? So it's like that inherently goes against the core values of a good entertainer, right? Someone like a Michael Jackson, Prince, bro, they would have never left the crowd being like, I don't give a fuck what they think. I think I killed that shit.
Yeah.
They go home stressing about like, damn, did they notice when I messed up that two-step count?
Yeah.
With the vocals on. So I think there's just a different mentality when it comes to people pleasing from music artists today. You know what I'm saying? So they don't go for it anymore. So I that's what I think it is right there. Plus, entertainment is such a vague concept, right?
Yeah.
Some people were, you know, they're entertaining to you, but if someone was to ask you why, you couldn't really put their finger on it, right? Or things aren't really intangible. I like the way their voice sounds.
Yeah.
You know, they have really good timing with jokes. Like, these are things you can't really like put your finger on, but it are valid points.
I'm glad you said that, bro, because I've definitely talked about that before, where I use specifically comedians, where I'm like, they don't have the ability to say, oh, my music's so good, and these people just don't get it, right? For the most part, if they're not laughing at these jokes, these jokes right funny, I got to figure out how to tweak, right? And that's why many of them like to create without the cameras, because it's like, I'm working on real time trying to make this thing better and better, and the crowd and their reaction is a part of telling me whether it's better, right? Where music, like you said, and a lot of visual arts as well, it's like, nah, like, this is all me. I can be in my hole and create the best work in the world. People don't get it. They just don't get it, and they don't understand reality. When we talk about the business, the industry, which is the music industry, is in what industry? Entertainment industry, right? It's a branch of the entertainment industry. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that is the reality if you want to succeed at the highest level in the entertainment industry, right? So yeah, no, I agree. Like, some of them like don't respect or understand that it needs to be there, and then others just don't have like the clarity on what entertainment is. And then, I know a lot of people just want to think, hey, they lazy. I get it. But it is kind of wild, this statement, the way he positioned this. You can spend a whole year on an album, but if you don't want to take 15 minutes to make a TikTok, a label ain't going to give a fuck. I mean, that does make me say, oh, you spent a year, why don't you want to take 15 minutes? That's what I think.
That's what confused me about not doing this, but what we did. For those that know, we're pretty, responsible content creators. We do a pre-production meeting.
Yeah.
We was looking at this shit on the pre-production meeting. I was literally like, is he being sarcastic or is he being for real? Because I wasn't sure. Because I'm like, that's the point I would make. Like, hey, you clearly have the energy to spend a year making the album. You didn't have 15 more minutes of energy left in you. Like, that's the argument I would make. Like, you're actually making it worse.
Yeah.
Because I would have much rather you have spent 6 months working on the album and then the other 6 months knocking out TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Just to be real.
Yeah.
Just to be real. I don't know, Taz. I don't know if that shit hit like you thought it was going to hit.
Yeah.
I have to empathize with the label in this situation. All right? Because like I said, bro, you ain't got 15 minutes.
Well, go ahead, bro. Good.
And, we know with Taz is dealing with mostly newer act, bro. Tell me what artist Taz is signing today that is not expecting to have to make content.
Yeah.
Or do you at least have heard a word before? So if I'm a label going like, bro, you just signed this 19-year-old that doesn't want to make TikTok? No. There's tens of thousands of them out there that will. Like,
thinking about a business investment, you know what I'm saying? That's like, I don't know. Is it almost like saying something like, I can make the best fried chicken in town, but this vegan restaurant won't let me put it on the menu? You know what I'm saying? Like what's the business model? And of course, content is a part of today's business model. And to be fair, labels don't dictate whether you need to create content or not. Like, labels were late to realizing that you need to create content to get their return. They're just trying to do what it takes to get their money back, which is why they're in agreement with you in the first place. They didn't agree in investing in you just because they love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can love you from afar. And plus, the people who do love you the most are the people who are doing a deal with you, usually. Like, and then, but the entity that they work for, they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I'm not the A&R. I know he signed him. So, you know what I mean? So, like, yeah, I think in all fairness, again, they are just trying to figure out the model that's working to get their return on investment. Well, before the content and TikTok was doing what it did, they weren't saying you need to do that. They were late, and we were trying to convince them that they need to have their artists do more of it just because of the opportunity of it all. We weren't like, hey, I mean, you know, we don't got nothing to do with the, you know, no rollout, no support if you don't do content. That's, you know, well, nothing to do with that, but we were on the, yo, man, y'all don't realize if y'all post content on TikTok at this time, y'all are already strict on the budgets, right? If y'all get them to do this, they're going to be able to have so much more of a return, or probably get more than they were going to get for that budget anyway, just off of content, especially in the time we were suggesting that. So, like, look, I'm of like the Nipsey Hussle type mentality. Like, I'm responsible for my own success. I got to make some shape. So if my label, I mean, one, you don't have to sign to a label, of course, or whatever. But if I'm signed to a label and they're trying to, and I believe in a project, and then they're doing certain things to not make my project successful, I'm going to do the things that I need to do for that time period, make that shake, and then figure out how to get the fuck out of this deal later. But I'm not going to stop my success in this meantime, unless I feel like it's so detrimental, because like I'm successful here, that's going to, like, I don't know, they're going to tie me up even worse into a deal. Like, that's a whole nother thing. But like, yeah, I'm going to do what I got to do right now. I made a mistake. I shouldn't even be in a deal with these boys. And then I'm going to make it work, and then I'm going to keep moving. That's what I feel like artists should do if they have this type of, if they have one of these types of situations. Because these deals these days, and most of them, most of these deals, that just is what it is. And, but I agree, yeah, all artists are not entertainers. Many artists are, I was just gonna say recording artists, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that was a real thing, and a separation that existed back in the day, where now everybody believes, you know, there's in this one bucket. But before, there were people who literally, hey, they just go to the recording studio, put it out, and they cap that way. You even had the horrible situations where you'll have some people, like, these are going to be the performers, these are going to be the singers in the studio, and then we're going to pretend that these are the performers are the ones singing it. You had every single mix, you know, for a variety of different reasons, whether it was like race or just lack of talent in one space. There were so many ways that kind of model got flipped, right? Or like they didn't like how you looked aesthetically in general, not even just race, or you were too big, and whatever the discrimination was. All that to say, again, and then writers, right? Writers, that was their bag, right? I think a lot of now, I think some of this comes from people getting mixed up, that thinking that they represent every single thing, and even labels and represent everything, because we're trying to squeeze one person to get the maximum return out of it. And that shit ain't right. You know, I can say that, you know, but nobody has that clarity or set expectations on the front end. That's the problem.
Yeah, one of it is our fault, man.
Who is the artist side, the industry side, fan side? Who you mean?
Artists and fans, man.
Okay.
So, like, to your point about, right, that's a good point, I think. The reason that artists maybe aren't being as great entertainers for us, one, there's no development, right? You look at labels like Motown, that was bringing them niggas out the womb to be danced. They was dancing at 6 and shit, you know? And the artist quest over the last decade to prove they can do all of it. I mean, those two things, and like I said, I'm pretty sure the fight at first is probably like, no, you can't do all of it. You just stay an artist and let us take care of X, Y, Z. And then some artists came along, I can't do it all. Oh, look at me, I can write and produce and sing and dance and do graphic design. And then labels, like you said, it's all about the bottom line. They started looking at them and going like, actually, when he started doing all this shit by himself, we saved a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? What used to take us now $300K plus, and I don't know, and employee fees to build an artist. Shit, now we maybe spend $20K because he's doing 80% of the things by himself. Now the narrative changes, right? And now we push, hey, you should be doing everything that you could possibly be doing to make it. And we'll just come along and be the bank, right? Yeah, or the connection or the what. So I think we talked ourselves into the position, right? It's like, you know, artists aren't really changing it. Like I really, it's almost offensive to a music artist today to assume they only can make music.
Yeah.
It's like you it's a slur for them. You know? Like what? Now you're a rapper, right? Rapper, writers, producer, but I feel bad. We're like, all right, Brian, ask you all that.
I'm the main dancer and the backup dancer. Bro, we actually just talked about this. Remember, I was talking about watching the Whitney Houston movie. One thing I realized is like, you know, one thing that artists really hung their hat on back then was performing.
Yeah.
And they weren't really necessarily worried about if I wrote the song or all that other stuff, which is why you had these great performers and these great brands. And then, of course, in some ways, some artists actually were the writers too, and then they didn't get their credit or just due and things like that. But many of them were literally just singing some of the same songs that were already popular over and over again, where you'll think, you know, oh, I thought that was Luther's song. I thought that was Whitney's song. I was like, no, that song's actually like for the streets, bro. It's for the streets. And it's been that way for a long time. So, and then you even go back, well, no, forward, but still back from now to last episode talking about Lil Bow Wow. He just like, hey, I didn't care about one of my masters because I wasn't writing the song. JD was writing the songs. I'm a touring artist. He was actually looking at an old model. So, you know, I don't know, man. You know, Bow Wow wasn't. I could see where Bow Wow was coming from in that perspective.
Yeah, like those artists in that old model. Like I said, in their head, it was like, bro, I was never meant to cap on this like that.
Right.
So I was meant to cap off of everything else. So, you know, this capping off the strings and the music, the record, that's a new artist shit. Yeah, no one like screaming about equality of streaming record.
Hey, look, I'm gonna read some of these comments. Every artist had to utilize the tools to break through every generation of music. The tools just changed. Not wanting to do a TikTok today is like not wanting to go on 106 in Park or TRL in 2000. Ooh, they smoking. This other one go a little hard too. Just make a TikTok and promote your album. It's not that hard. Oh man, let's see. Look, why not take 15 minutes to promote yourself after working on a year project? I'll say they make it up. Maybe we should have just read the comments on this one, man. This is a wild comment section, man. But this is on academics page though. I thought it was on his. I want to see it on. I'm gonna look up Taz's page. I wonder if they gave him the same energy because he's a little bit more insulated into the industry. He probably might not have got that. Shit's actively getting banned. ... Yeah, we're not gonna read the response to the comments. Fuck no, TikTok ain't no comparison to 106 because all they gonna do is keep scrolling on to the next thing and get distracted. The rap game is watered down and all together because so many people can easily record a song now. If anything, you can compare 106 in part to like going to the Breakfast Club and shit because you can actually talk about upcoming work or you've already put out minus the music video premieres. I was just so wrong. Back then you had to wait on a world premiere to catch a music video. Yeah, look, bro, one, you can talk about your shit that's coming up on TikTok. You can hop on other people's TikTok pages and do collabs. There's all these TikTok curators and all this stuff. And you can post your stuff. You could do it with accessibility. Back in the day, like, nigga, you probably weren't getting on 106 in Park unless you were in a deal that you ain't like. So, like, I'll take hopping on TikTok versus 106. Yeah, it's way over his head. No Happy Meal, no act. I don't know. No happy act. He's right, but the only way shit finna change is if artists unionize and take back creative control from labels. Sad to say it, but as of right now, it's just damn near impossible. And all of the big major A-tier artists are locked into contracts with big money. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation.
I feel like we haven't heard artists complain about creative control in years. I don't think that's what it is, but I think artists are getting almost too much creative control now, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, now you have creative control in every aspect of the whole business. You know what I'm saying? I would make the argument against whoever they was.
Yeah, I haven't heard artists complain about creative control. So if you worked on an album for a year and you clearly want the major label route, jump through that last that last hoop and make the 30-second TikTok vid that will take less than 15 minutes to come up with record, record, and share. Like FFs go complain. So this is interesting because we're starting to see this is important for artists to see and think about. Consumers are turning on y'all, where especially since the music industry is looked at as like a cool job, a dream job in many ways. You don't want to make a TikTok when I gotta go slang these burgers, or I gotta go sit in this damn cubicle, or I gotta work from home pretending like I'm working, and I gotta stay logged in even though I really want to like cook or watch a movie or something. Like, that's how they feel. Like, this looks entitled to a regular consumer. Artists, it's not that I don't empathize at all, but it's very important to understand the temperature of the room or the environment. And I'm not even necessarily as aware, like, as I read this in real time, it seemed like consumers, they not fucking with that like that.
Yeah, bro. Like you said, it's like, bro, you have the ultimate deal. And like you said, we know it's not the case, but yeah, bro, all you do is make music, smoke weed, and make TikTok. I would love to have to do that.
Yeah,
all day, every day. And I feel them. And then, but even the first half of the comment, I think was the big point, man. Said, it's like, yo, you clearly want to go to major label route to jump through that last week.
Yeah.
Right. Lewis was like, hey, bro, there were hoops you had to jump through to get into the situation. There were hoops you had to jump through
to maintain the situation. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, you knew there were hoops you had to jump through. If you committed to all the hoops, it's complete all the got it.
Hey, that's this is interesting. And so I feel like, because we know that we've seen people complain and demonize labels successfully, and then like the fans are like on the artist side, but I think it must be more on a, like, when the artist is coming to the fans directly, and then their fans specifically will feel for them because they care about them. I think there's probably that. And then, you know, especially, you know, a lot of these male audiences, they're not going to empathize that way. Like, so when now I think about it, so far, you know, I'm sure it could go both ways. So far, the ones that I've seen get empathy have been women artists and their fan bases. But this might be the first time I've seen an actual, like, a male industry person, and then the responses around it. And I don't seem like that side is really messing with it. I do see this person right here. This is facts. I was just speaking to an executive last night in Vegas. Talent is secondary. Yeah, entertainment is first. Entertainment is first. We just talked about this. Not every artist is an entertainer. Some people just want to make music and release to their fans without the commercialism. All right, but don't go to the major label route. Once you go to major label, bro, like, commercialism is the game. Yeah. Not every artist wants to be associated with TikTok or the type of crowd it attracts. That's a bullshit comment. Like, that's just dumb. Like, all right, you know what? Let me give context to it. It's not me being offended. It's literally the amount of people that are on TikTok at this point, well over 1 billion, means like more than every single person that's in the United States. Around 300 million are on TikTok. You're telling me that every single person on TikTok is not your type of audience. Every single person. That's 1 billion plus people on TikTok. It just doesn't make sense, right? Like, that's you looking at the app in your small bubble, like, hey, I haven't left the block type of perspective of the world. It's just too many damn people. There's only 250 million people on Spotify, something around that, maybe 300, like somewhere between in that area on Spotify. Are your fans on Spotify? It's 1 billion people on TikTok. They probably use TikTok too. You know what I mean? It just don't make sense, that type of comment. But I feel like people say that type of stuff, and it's cool to feel that, like, you can get by with it in your own environment, in your mind, and justify it. But when it comes to measuring your success and actually, trying to get where you supposedly want to go, you can't, like, let those type of, like, thoughts slide. You can say, hey, I don't really want to get on TikTok, and I'm gonna try to figure out how to win without it. But throwing this whole idea of, like, the crowd of TikTok, ain't no fucking crowd on TikTok. Like a specific crowd where everybody watches one type of video, one type of thing.
My boy be stuck in 2019. Like,
yeah, bro, like, it doesn't make sense. We're gonna read a couple more of these. Give a fuck about TikTok, FYTB, man, all these damn acronyms. Stop being followers. Do your own shit. Keep your creative control. Think for yourself. How's a non-entertainer going to perform his music? I don't know. Good question. Bro, TikTok is complete garbage and is ruining the world little by little. It's crazy to see, because now it's such a young environment. Usually it's old people who have these type of things, like something's ruining everything. But it's a lot of young people that feel this way about TikTok. That's why you rarely hear hits anymore. Now, only jingles. Now, that's a more valid comment where it's something worth discussing. Let me just go to Taz's. page. I want to see the energy on his actual page. Yeah, artists, overwhelmingly, it seems like there's a lot of people who like, look, bro, again, like you said, your life is better than my life. And and unfortunately, when you think about classism, all these type of things, typically like when people see you're in a better position than what they are, look, and that's the problem. They perceive you, not see you. They perceive you to be in a better position than them. They don't give a fuck about your problems.
Yeah. Yeah, or just perceive the job to be easier, man. Like I said, bro, if I'm like, are you just singing, dancing, and making TikTok?
Oh, yeah.
Throwing boxes in the back of a U-Haul truck? Hey, man.
Yeah.
No sense.
Yeah. I mean, look, and that's the way of the world. Like, adults will always do that shit. When you older, I'll be older. Like, you know, my kids, I'm like, bro, how are you tired? I do the same thing. It's like, it's no way you tired. Why are you sleeping?
That stuff, man. It's supposed to be breaking the cycle, man.
That's not a cycle I want to break, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I'll be like, hey, y'all need it like that. Like, maybe you need to use more energy, go outside, and then maybe you'll have more energy. You don't got much, endurance. All that inside shit. See, I sound like the old people, bro. But I get when you see you're like, I don't know, man. Like, how are you there? I'm trying to prevent myself from going on a rant. But but truly, you know, when you know what you've been through or what you're dealing with, it's harder to see that. And that's what the fans are dealing with. Just like I might be like, dang, bro, I remember being in summer camp, and now that's like on break. Like, we were in summer camp and we were outside all day. There was no inside. The inside was like under the gazebo or whatever. And so we just outside in the hot Georgia sun for like 8 hours or whatever that shit was. That I ain't put my kids through that shit, bro. Like, stuff like that. I'm like, that don't make no sense, bro. You know, I could pay another $20 to go to a better summer camp or something. But, you know, having endurance is good for you. Niggas don't need to be tired all the time. You know, low struggle build character. You know what I'm saying? You know, you struggle now, so I can love you better later. You know, what they say, the kids that get spoiled, and you seen some of these parents who got to deal with these folks when they get older. I be seeing some wild stuff in the stores. But I digress. We're going to get to the next topic. And for this next topic, a lot of artists think publicists are a scam. And we have somebody really giving a strong opinion on why they think so. We'll give our thoughts afterwards, but we'd love to know what you think.
We're going to endorse paying for a publicist. And so maybe you're making millions, and any publicist listening to this, I'm sorry, but I think the whole publicist industry, since the vlog era especially, has died completely down. I think publicists are a scam. If you're still making money being a publicist, you have to be scamming, because who are you convincing to pay you? In what world does it make sense, unless you're getting smaller artists to give you $400 or $500 or $2,000 or $3,000? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm ignorant because I haven't entered the realm of money that requires one. So I'm assuming that it's a realm of money way beyond what I'm working with. But I've never experienced a positive experience from spending my money on a publicist. Even recently, the label is spending my artist's budget. And I'm like, y'all can take that out of y'all's budget. This shit isn't doing anything for us. So shout out to the publicists if you're hearing this, but that shit is a scam.
The labels obviously are using high-level marketers and high-level publicists. It's just we're talking about 50,000 plus. We're not talking about 5, 10K. And a lot of rappers will save that money up. And I'm just sitting there thinking, you know what you could do with 10,000 if you actually you didn't just throw it at someone's doorstep and say, all right, do what you said you were going to do. A month later, after those 2 or 3 blog articles came out and that like one print media, they're like, okay, give me another 10,000. We'll do another run. And it's like the artist could have done that themselves by just simply networking.
All right, Jacory, you got more background in this world than I do. We both worked with publicists and their marketing adjacent, but you like came up in the post world. So what you think?
Man, I think the publicity game now is interesting. I think the publicity game, because of the blog era, kind of got fucked up, because now that's what we associate publicity with, is blog placements and website placement, which is a big part of it. But PR overall is more so about spinning narrative, right? And so it's more so I use the resources I have at hand to spin narratives. Blog and websites became the most powerful way to do that, right? So it gets associated with it, right? So one, I just think is that there's just a complete misconception of like what the job is supposed to be doing in the first place. And within that, there's a complete misunderstanding of when it makes sense for you to hire somebody with that job, right? Because like I said, this new attribution of publicists, especially in the rap space, is person that gets me on blog.
Yeah.
Makes artists think, hey, I really can have a publicist at any point in my career because your job is to get me on these publications. When in reality, once again, going back to it, a publicist's job is to create, spin, and spread a message or a narrative.
Yeah.
Right? What a lot of artists mess up is they don't have a story to spin that's worth getting you onto, right? And now, and of course, there are like high-level publicists who can create these things and pull it up from scratch and make it happen. But for 80-90% of publicists, this influx of artists with no story coming to them that want the service is creating a problem for them. You know, like any business, right? They're going to find a way to take money, which is where, to her point, you get the really low quality blog services and it don't really make sense. But hey, you want 2 or 3 publications that makes you happy? Cool, I can do that for you for $500, right? So that's where that comes from. That's where you get the verification badge selling that a lot of publishers were living off of up until, Meta and Twitter kind of changed things. But like, I know lots of publishers who charging $5K, $8K, $20K, $30K, selling blue checks in the process of getting a blue check to people because before the Meta thing, it took press to get a blue check mark. Who controlled the press world? Publicists, right? So who did it make sense for to monetize this blue check mark? Publicists, right? Made the most sense for them. So I think those things kind of have warped the way the position is looked at. The last thing I will say too is there's a lot of just miseducation around going back to what publicity is. Like I said, I think because of the rap and blog era, publicists are just looked at as the person that gets me on websites. But like I said, there's more to it, and like a good publicist, to her and DJ Payne's point, is going to typically run you 50, 60, 70, 80K plus, because if we go back to looking at how stories are being built and how long it takes people to even believe it, like that's a long ass time, right? Like I might come up with this story for you in January, have to guide you through the pieces I needed you executing it to help me get it out there, and then do the work to get it out there, and then do the work to gauge the perception that comes out the road. That could very easily be a whole year process in itself, you know what I'm saying? Not to mention condensing that for micro moments you're trying to create for artists around a project or a career or something like that. But most artists aren't coming into the publicity game thinking of it as like, I'm thinking like, hey, I can make my publicist's life easier by coming to them with a really strong narrative, right? Or building a story before I even reach out to them and try to use their services, which should be the way it gets done, but it's not, you know what I'm saying? Different music. So wherever people smell money, there's going to be somebody that comes along and takes advantage of that and doesn't do it the right way and give everybody a bad rep, right? We see it happen with, scamming producers. We see it happen in our space of marketers, right? Naturally, that, like I said, if somebody's looking at like, man, in order for me to do publicity the right way, it's going to take me $50K. But there's this huge group of people who are willing to pay $200 or $300 for it, even if it's not the most quality version of it. People are going to jump at that, right? So as much as I would like to say that publicity services, seeming scamming and the bad PR of it kind of falling on publicists today, I also put some of this back on the artists, right? Because there are lots of artists out there who funded these people, these institutions, when there were people like us telling them it doesn't make sense for you to be doing that in the live your career anyway, right? Like I usually can tell, like somebody asking me, doesn't make sense to me to publicity, that means it doesn't make sense to you to publicity, right? So it's a great way to start. Like, the fact you can ask me says that you don't need it. Right? You would know if you need it. There'd be so much shit going around you, so many narratives that like, somebody be like, yo, bro, this could have been 8 news articles this week. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Until you hit that point, you really don't need a publicist, right? And so that's why I think when Aaron's frustration comes along, more often than I think most other physicians in the music industry, I think you can go a very long way in your music career without a publicist.
Music especially.
Yeah, music especially, like, because narrative, like today, a website like Complex still has power, but it doesn't have as much power as, I would argue, as let's say like a DJ Academics in the social media era, right? Like so the same way that 4 or 5 years ago, if I wanted a client to get a message out, I would send them to Hip Hop DX, and we would send them to Break Club, and we send them to, I don't know, I can't think of that, Angie Martinez, right? And then maybe we send them to Dat Piff right? That was the run, right? Who were the popular media outlets and personalities and you send them there. It's still a version of that today, but what's changed is that half of that media strategy now include different Instagram pages, YouTubers, and podcasters and influencers and things like that. The great thing about those people is most of them are very accessible without a publicist, right? So the gates that publicists kind of hold the keys to are still relevant. It's just not really relevant until you reach a certain level. And 90% of artists on that path just don't qualify for it, but they all want it. And you like think about how many people ask us, y'all do PR services? You barely scraping by with $1,000 budget, asking them, can I put some blogs on top of this? It's like, no, bro, you're being greedy with your budget. You're being greedy with what that money makes sense for. And I think, like I said, when you get that in music, that greed breeds more greed, and eventually you get a greedy person that's smarter than you, and you just scam everybody. Right? Like eventually you get there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what kind of happened in publicity, and like giving publicists a bad name over.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, dropping music is not newsworthy. And I think that's what people have to think about. Is this newsworthy? That's when you start to get into the PR side of things as an artist on the come up, because there's also this highly relevant and obviously needed side when we talk about the damage control side of PR publicists, right? Everybody has those once you hit a certain level. So we know those publicists aren't scammers. But, right, I think being able to access something is not the same as being scammed, right? Just because I can do it, like, hey, I might pay $50 for some chicken at a nice restaurant, and this is an expensive ass restaurant. I could cook it myself. That's not getting scammed, right? You know what I mean? Like, I might do it even not so necessarily for myself. I might be doing it because I'm out on a nice date and I'm trying to, entertain my lady. You know what I mean? Flex a little bit or whatever, right? All right, I still got that value, or I got the value of the convenience of not doing it at all. So what artists have to take into account and take accountability for, even if you could have done it yourself, you're the one deciding to do it, right? So what you need to be educated, can I do it for myself? And then the only decision that you need to be making it off of at that point becomes convenience. Remember, I talked about like early on, once we hit a certain point where a certain artist was like, all right, we want to work with people who, like, they're working with us out of convenience, not because they don't have access or anything like this. They're paying us as much as they pay us because they need the trustworthiness that we'll do it right.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? And then pay a certain level of attention to it because they're holding that valuable of an asset, which is their artist and their business. And they're at a certain level where mess up have a bigger meaning, right? But when you're early on messing something up or investing on a page or something like that, that doesn't give you the return, and the implications might suck for your budget, but implications career-wise doesn't necessarily add up to what it looks like for a bigger artist. So yeah, I think, man, of course, there's definitely the scammers like that really do exist, right? So there's people who aren't even publicists, and all they do who is get you on these social media pages and they call themselves publicists, all right? Then you have people who are legitimate publicists, and those legitimate publicists, some of them even might, they scam on the low end. Look, how many times you seen somebody who is official on the low end, in the business, but then they got like a little back end operation, let the cousin go ahead and get a little profit off of their name or something like that. That does exist.
More than I like to admit.
That does exist. And that's always interesting. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, you can even, what's crazy is when they allow somebody else to manage their like social media and run scams off of their social media. It's like, bro, you directly messing up your name, my guy.
This is a timer, bro. That was the other thing I was gonna say too. Is I think the publicity game got messed up because the line between publicity and marketing is so blurry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's marketers offering blog services that publicists are getting you on playlists and running ads. It's the wild west,
yeah.
Right. Because I think that's what publicists thought was like, hey, okay, it was cool to say I was in the world of spinning narrative back when blogs were a thing and we were all reading. But now they're just in the attention game. And once you're in the attention game, you're technically a marketer. To me, that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? Don't shoot me out that publicly. That's how I feel. Once you are in the eyeball, in the game of getting eyeballs and impressions, you are marketing me in that.
That is, right? They're definitely related. But yeah, that does go back to differentiation. A PR person at a core is not like marketing first. It's a avenue of marketing, the story, the communication aspect of it. But we've deduced them because of the blog era, right? And how it transitioned to the social media era. We look at them as like marketer and we judge them looking for marketing results. And that's a part of it. It's like, nah, bro, if I put out my motherfucking PR narrative, right, and I told this story and I did this across all these pages, it don't matter if you could have got access to these things. I did my job. You know what I mean? And me as a publicist, my job is not to get you streams. My job is not to get you, well, it shouldn't be. And I think that's part of the dissidence there, right? Artists think you should get these streams. I should be getting you followers. That's not a real publicist's job. That's not really what they're focused on, right? That direct type of impact. It's more like marketing versus branding. We know they're related and they're in the same house. They fall under it. But like when I'm focused on brand, that's a long tail conversation and what that looks like. But anything that's marketing related, any of the arms, it's like, no, bro, you're really just looking for streams. You're really just looking for this direct results. It's more sales and marketing than any of the other parts of it.
Yeah, because I think the bread and butter of PR got a lot harder to sell.
Hell yeah, because of the accessibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, man, I could pay you to get me on Complex, but I could pay, I don't know, Talk the Pops $200 to post me on Instagram. It's gonna get the same job. My narratives are gonna be spread. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then
because I'm gonna have a narrative and I'm gonna have some followers.
Yeah, fact. I remember thinking about it too. Like when I worked for a publicist, like this was super early in my industry career. We didn't really start like talking about like numbers until maybe closer to the end of me working for him, and that was around the time when like, I mean, Twitter was always a thing. Like Instagram was like really just becoming a thing. They talk about like 2018 and not just, you know, it was like 2017, 2018, really starting to hit the mainstream stride. So that's when like numbers started to become a thing. That's when I started seeing him have to report in meeting, hey, this is how many views I got on YouTube. This is what it hit. Before, he just would be reporting how many articles came out of it, right? We would look on things like Twitter and see how many, hey, on this day, only 8 people tweeted out about you. But the day after the article came out, 150 people tweeted. That was the type of thing that we were reporting on. It was very rarely like directly like music related, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting to see that. Like I said, the publicists I pay attention to now, not necessarily like the really high level ones kind of still keep it there, at least surface level, but majority of them are basically marketed, you know, man. Marketers with some press connections. That's how I look at it.
Man, that's definitely an interesting way to see it because, well, first shout out to Music Entrepreneur Club. Should have said that at the beginning, but shout out to all of y'all, Dame, DJ Pay, and Aaron. This is a good conversation. I think it comes down to, so if you look at in the agency, we started calling it IGPR, Instagram PR, and then we expanded to social media PR, right? Any of the platforms, because we could do PR on any of those platforms. But I always differentiate those social media PR platforms are where you can spread narrative and you'll start to see impact on potential streams and things like that. The other side, though, when we talk about business PR, that's not for streams. That's building your relationships, especially when you talk about the company side of things where if somebody wants to become your client, let's say for an agency, right? And they see there's a bunch of articles on us as an agency, like real articles, not like them fake, you know, everything on Yahoo. They're like, oh man, there's some credibility to these people. So they'll help you get your clients. So I think music probably experiences the more scam side in this way more than some other industries. Because if you're doing a business PR, you're not looking again to a result. You're just looking for proof of concept and controlling the narrative, right? That's all it is. It's like, oh, I'm appearing like I'm more credible to these people, so they're going to buy into me. Or if you're an artist, there are some companies and things on the brand side for you to have that kind of background because some of these companies, when they want to deal with artists, they want to see what some of the other companies and brands that you've dealt with. All right. So the business PR side of your brand is completely different than that's the fan base side of it, where before during the blog era, there's this sweet spot where you knock both of them out at once for the most part. right? Doing a blog is the shit that's going to pop up on Google, and it's what fans are actually paying attention to. Now, the thing that pop up on Google and what people are paying attention to on social media, those pages are completely different. So, no, man, all publicists ain't scammers. But in the music industry, yeah, you like, look, the first understanding I got from whether you need a publicist was like, you need to have something to talk about. You need to have buzz already. All right, there are rare moments where people out the gates damn near have something to talk about because of a unique story that they have to tell, or they're a part of, or it's happening in real time, so you can follow it in real time. Like, hey, if I'm a decent sized artist, like, and I don't even mean decent like huge, but just like I don't know, maybe I got a little something going. You want to have no, matter of fact, you technically could be zero, but like, let's just pretend your music's not trash, right? Your music's good, and you say, I'm about to go across country and walk across country and play at every Starbucks along the way. That's a story. You know what I'm saying? And you don't need a huge following for that to make sense for publicity. However, you know, even in today's age, you need to be creating great content and be your own publicist in that way too, to underlie that. So I think the reality is today, just like everything else, until you hit a certain level, like now, before you couldn't do anything until you were at a certain level or could pay a certain amount. Today, many of these services are not worth paying for until you can afford to pay a certain amount. That's just all it is.
Yeah, access. Hey, that's what goes back to the whole free marketplace thing, man. Like, you know, having access to all the candy comes with the risk.
A stomach ache, hell yeah. Free market, free to bump your head, bro. Like, hey, free to bust that ass. It's the pros and cons, baby. I love it. Let's get into this other clip right here. This music producer broke down how you can hack the label systems, see what some of the things that they're using, and how you can use them for yourself. Check this out.
To beat the music industry at their own game. The main thing the record label has that you don't is human capital. So go to a site like glassdoor.com and look at the reviews for these jobs. You search up the record label and you search up the jobs and the salaries. Once you have all those jobs and salaries, you go to a site like Upwork and look for the same exact job title. So basically now you can take your own money, hire the same people that the record label would hire, and you could use them to your benefit to grow your business instead of growing the record label's business. Once you're done finding the key players, go to any record label's website and copy the URL. Go to the site called Built With and then paste the URL. This site will show you all the components used to build that specific website. And if you want to create your own apparel company like TDE, you can go to a site called Jungle Scouts, and you can go on Amazon and look for different suppliers. Most companies source from Alibaba, but there are other top vendor websites. And that's how you beat the record labels at their own game and keep your 20%.
Now, hey, first and foremost, man, I know some of these labels take them more than 20%. A lot of these labels, we're talking about labels, but let's work with 20%. I think this content was from Busy Work Beats. Shout out to him. I disagree with this one in a lot of ways, but I also agree with it in some ways.
How to beat the music industry?
The some ways is I do think that you can use a lot of the stuff that he said if you want to, right, to find people and things like that. I would probably use LinkedIn over Upwork. Yeah. Just to be real. Oh, or Glassdoor, but I'll probably just go LinkedIn more than anything to see these people working at these companies. My issue here is, yeah, you got what they talk about in the comments. Some people say the capital. You gotta have the capital. So, and a lot of these people aren't ready to like deal with some of these people. This is how you get scammed, like the folks that we talked about and then with the PR people, because the label people are gonna charge what they charge, and if you don't have the knowledge, you're just going to pay them whatever they say is worth and not know how to like judge whether it's worth it. Like, so that part, I do agree with the, like how he used Built With, use Built With to see what website. You can do that with anybody's website. There's a lot of things just to give yourself a quick idea of like what other people are using. Sure, use Built With and come up with your own merch site to use or whatever based on that. That's interesting because especially, you know, some people, they might have a favorite artist and they're like, oh man, I wonder what they're using. And in some ways that helps you see, oh shit, they're using fucking Shopify. They're using some of these basic ass websites it's not that complicated. So I think it's very helpful to use things like Built With just so you can understand the technology stack that things are built on. That's cool. But, you know, it's almost like some of these merch sites and things like that. I mean, they're so, again, all right, never mind. Some people might think it's more complicated than not, so it's good for them to use Built With. But I'm almost like, man, do y'all really need to use these sites to know which are the main websites that are good to use? But I actually kind of rewind and moonwalk that one. People do, because there's a lot of these sites that people be using just because it came up first on the Google Mouse. So definitely use the Built With shit. But the hire and label people, you know, unless you are a astute business person yourself and know how to navigate conversations and like learn from your work with one person and apply it to the next, and you have money to blow, I don't know about hiring labeled people at the beginning.
Yeah, I think that advice is for, if we look at being an artist as a scale from 0 to 10, I think that's advice for artists for like 8 and above, you know.
Ironically, I wouldn't, I mean, how do you get to level 8? Like that's a rare air. But ironically, I think this is best for people who are starting a record label.
Oh, well, yeah. Grand scheme of things, yeah.
That's what people I would like do this.
To that point, what I was about to bring up is like why I don't think that advice works for the average artist is that typically the power players that are really like moving and shaking things for an artist, they usually aren't working for, I don't want to say usually because it feels so bad, but this is from my personal experience. They're usually not working for the label, bro. Like it's usually like direct hire of the artist, or maybe they do some type of like creative gig where like you know what they do without even needing like to go look at Glassdoor, right? So me, Glassdoor is like, oh, I don't know what a CTO does. When would I need a CTO for my?
Oh yeah.
I ain't looking at fucking, I don't know, Drake's team and being like, oh, you have a dope videographer. Like you didn't really need Glassdoor to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have kind of.
And yeah, a lot of these folks in the music industry, which I discovered when I got in the music industry, they don't even use LinkedIn. They don't even use, like you said, they don't have official job title on Glassdoor. It's very much so a need to know industry, relationship-based industry.
They making sure I'm CEO of human development. You're like, what? I'll be the HR. Like, okay, got you. Like, you know, so like there's that. There's a confusion behind the roles. There's the not even publicizing the people in the roles. Being at a position where it makes sense to do it, like musically, career-wise, having the capital to do it, like you can go find the best whatever in the world, like I want to get paid.
Yeah.
If you ain't crossed their hurdle yet, really ain't going to do too much for you. And I just think that, too, that a lot of those steps will probably, like, if you're at the point to where you're trying to enact this strategy, you probably have a lot of it already figured out.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, this to me is a strategy for artists 8 through 10. Like you're a level 2 artist, no, like you said, you better maybe hitting LinkedIn if you're just curious, but you're really gonna be kind of wasting these people's time and your time. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're in a certain position. So I don't know. Like I agree with the sentiment and the message behind the sentiment, but then, you know, is it actually something I think most artists could do? No. Is it something that I think most artists should do? No, I don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is something that I think a very specific group of artists can get away with. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I'm not on it heavy, like just because I feel like most artists aren't in a position to do this. Because I'm big on, hey, bro, this is the internet. I decided to watch this content and come across this page. So I can't just view it from my perspective. Like this one person said, you know, it was like the first things like most artists don't need this or this isn't independent artist problem. Now, if he specified this is how to beat the industry as an independent artist or something like that, all right, and then I'll be like, we just said this is how you beat the industry. And I think, like I said, for a label, that could be useful. But I'm not about to hate on somebody because they, like I always say, I might be watching a PhD level video and I'm only in 2nd grade. And I'm like, dang, bro, no, this is too fluffy. You not specific enough. And no, I was like, nah, bro, like I'm killing what I'm saying. Like, your ass need to level up, you know, and then you'll have those people at that level will be like, this is an amazing video. We get that type of thing all the time. And then when you make some content for the 2nd graders, if you at PhD, be like, you're not talking about nothing, bro. You ain't saying no shit. It's like, bro, no one told you to watch this video. Like, if you don't connect with it, assume that it might be for somebody else who doesn't know that already. You up there trying to flex in the comments that you know it already. Nick, everybody don't know this, right? So that's how I try to look at all this type of content, and because there is like a lot of people on hate, but I try to find the usefulness in it. I do think, again, the mentality and of trying to approach labels could use this type of approach, or like people in general, like try to quickly find people who can consult you and give you some perspective on how things go and what you should be looking for. I think the problem comes when people try to, which I wouldn't want to do based on what I've seen with labels and hiring label consultants type people. I wouldn't be looking at those people to be like an ongoing consultant oftentimes right off the gate. I'll be like, hey, what do I need? Like, tell me the inner workings of this business. So hire for a consulting call, not just like people jump to like, oh man, I want to do marketing. Let me just go hire a person in the marketing department from a label to be in charge of my marketing, right? Or let me go, just hire, and it's like, oh yeah, now we're instantly in this ongoing relationship. No, help them, charge them to extract the information from their head on how you should be viewing the game, what's real and what's not. Problem with going to, especially for indie artists, going to a label person, kind of alludes to what you said earlier though. Because I'm an indie artist and I'm at ground zero, or I'm at 1,000, going straight to a label. A lot of these labels, whoever's in charge of their marketing, they don't have no idea how to really break an artist or how to build an artist's career. Because I just been running ads, at this label based on these clients who are at this level, and people just bring me the client and I run some ads for them. I know what a good ad campaign might look like as an artist, but holistically, I kind of know what those other teams are working on, right? Or I might do influencers. I kind of know, but they don't have a holistic view. And not just talking about marketing. It could be multiple categories, but that's the nature. I used to argue with my sister about this stuff because she's on the corporate side of things, and I'm like indie, on like build companies from ground zero. It's like you get this knowledge, and it's a certain perspective you don't have, right? Like y'all have there's less risk of your mistakes within a larger entity. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of gears in that machine that you just don't have to account for yourself personally. Now you probably have a lot more data to work with, so you probably understand after a certain level of like how to look at data, manipulate data, or like maybe how some of these departments and things should work together. That's something that's harder for somebody who's ground zero and hasn't seen and built that yet, right? So there's pros and cons from coming from a the corporate or completely indie side of things. But the point is, in the beginning, when you were indie, you want to find somebody who really know what the fuck to do from this indie point and how to build out the mud, right? Once you start getting to those other levels, you don't want to just listen to any niggas all the time on their perspective, because they're not playing that game at that level, right? And that's just makes sense, But yeah, this is cool advice. Wait, so hire label execs as an independent? Now that's a good question. Yes, you can definitely do that. Hire label executives as an independent, but again, that's do proceed with caution. I'll say that. And this person said, no, he's saying, see the positions, the descriptions tell you what they do, then hire virtual assistants to fill those positions in your business. That's what he's saying? Is he saying that? You think he's saying that?
But he's basically saying, look at them to see what positions they hire, and then go hire people that do those.
Right, but I was assuming like people from the labels who might be offering consulting. A virtual assistant, yeah, that sounds wild. Like, it's like, I don't know, I'm a A&R at an executive, and then like, let me go hire a virtual assistant regardless of A&R experience. That's wild. All right. Interesting topic. A little bit of fodder around that one. But let's get into this next subject. I got a question for y'all's asses. Is rapping about things you don't do corny or artistic expression? I really want you to think about that and have an answer. And while you think, I'm going to play this clip that might affect your thoughts on that?
For me, it might sound stupid, but I think that's kind of corny for you to rap about.
That's hella corny.
Rapping about specific drugs on a regular basis, and in real life, you don't do them drugs. That's weird.
If you're rapping about anything that could be detrimental that you don't fully participate in or do, you a lame, you corny, like just naturally.
Why?
Because you have a billion things that you could choose to rap about, including your own life, but you choose to portray a narrative that's not true and it's influencing people and it's detrimental. And it's like, nigga, why choose that of all things to say? And you ain't even do it your damn self.
Right.
So it's definitely corny. We see a lot of rap now and it's like, nigga, you're lying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very clear and adamant. It's not even at an artistic point because some of the music don't even be great. Right, lying.
Is it corny? My initial reaction, because the way we got this, right? Zach gave us the topic and he was like, oh yeah, this is a LaRussell clip that where LaRussell said it's corny to rap about stuff you don't do. And I'm always looking for the angle. So I was like, I got it. I'm going to disagree with this nigga because I had one angle. But then I actually got to watch the clip. And he said, if you're rapping about something or making music, I guess, about something that's detrimental. And I'm like, damn it, that was my angle. Because I was going to say, yeah, the detrimental, like that kind of stuff is crazy to me. The stuff that is like, I don't know, I see myself as an alien and I'm rapping from the perspective of an alien, you know what I mean? And have this whole world that I paint, this movie that I create. That isn't, right? But he's not talking about that. He's specifically talking about, yeah, you know, you rapping about drugs, killing, shooting, like those kind of main things. It is, I got a big problem with that. Particularly, which I think it's assumed that is what they're talking about. If you're doing it from the perspective as if you truly do it yourself, knowing that you are convincing. You can say, oh, I was doing it and I was playing a character and I was trying to, artistically show something, right? Or represent something. But if you see it's clearly not being received as, hey, this is not you and how you run your life, I got a problem with it. Like one way or another. Like, just we know the effects of it by now. People say, oh, music don't affect me or whatever, or it doesn't, like, I'm not a role model or all these things, right? That's a fucking lie. Music is marketing. All music is words and shit on a beat. And it's actually one of the most convincing ways to market to people. Like, period.
Yeah. Yeah, I will play devil's advocate here and say that, especially in rap, they probably feel like, well, when I'm doing it in the beginning, I have no influence. And then I build my influence rapping about this thing that I don't particularly do, right?
Yeah.
So, it goes back to like kids having fun in the classroom, bro. And because of the internet now, some of that shit can go viral and create stars, right? And just staying in that environment. So I do think there are more artists today who get caught in narratives that they don't really live because of that. It starts off as a joke and then the joke goes too far. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll give it an age limit. Like, I can let you off if you like. Yeah. I'll even let 21 slide. Yeah. Or if you talking about some shit you don't do, portraying a lifestyle and in a way that you are trying to convince or aware that you're convincing people that that's what you're actually doing and then influencing them to then perceive that lifestyle differently and how they participate in it. Yes. I got a problem with that shit.
All right. And then devil's advocate again, because I thought about it before. I thought about this do you remember when Future was in some shit?
Yeah.
Right. Drinking cucumber water and
I don't remember the cucumber water part.
He had like an interview where he talked about drinking cucumber water.
I just remember I thought you were going to talk about like him saying he don't do drugs or some shit like that. Okay.
Right. He don't do drugs. He don't really drink lean like that. Now, I remember watching that and thinking like, man, he's so calm about this. He's so chill, right? Mm-hmm. He's talking about it so candidly in the interview. And I'm like, well, if I'm a Future fan who doesn't watch Future interview, I would never know that.
Yep.
Right? I would never know that he doesn't live his lifestyle. So now when I go listen to the music, I'm still thinking he's pushing this character versus me as a fan now.
That's part of the problem, by the way. A lot of people don't watch interviews. I wasn't aware that because I love watching interviews. A lot of people don't watch interviews.
I was just about to say that. Like, who does the fault for believing in the character fall on if the artist is making good intentions to put out there that they are finding character, right? And just like that Future's a great example. I've heard him talk about in that interview. He's talked about it briefly in like radio interviews. But if you're not really watching Future interviews, you don't know that.
I don't know. That's like some politics shit though, bro. It's like, yeah, we gonna show one thing over here, and then we gonna do it, but then we don't want that other thing to be seen as much, and we know that we didn't yell over here. We whispered that shit over here, and then we yelled over there. I don't know about that, bro. Like the argument, I mean, yeah, I don't like just doing a caricature of the future shit. Whatever. Oh yeah, man. You know, since you use lean so heavy, you know, like what? Use it heavy? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, you talk about it all the time. It's like, oh, I can't do that shit all the time. He's like, nigga, you see how much money I get? I'm a hustler, bro. I can't be doing lean all the time. I'll be lazy, bro. Don't you hear me talk about lazy niggas? That's kind of like, I think the energy people perceive. If I'm like, dang, bro, like, because didn't he allude to something like that? Like he couldn't work all the time. So it's almost like, cause I was like, I don't know, like I don't want to say shit, no, but it was just like, hey, bro, like, nah, I couldn't be me doing that. You know, so Future's argument. Well, I don't know if he ever did lean super heavily, whatever, but he did, from my knowledge, come from a certain lifestyle and did partake, right? His equivalent for him in particular, and anybody in a similar situation, right? Let's say you're doing it in a moment and you're talking about it, right? Cool. Based on what we say, it's cool to share your experience. Even if the experience is detrimental marketing to the world. We're all apparently cool with that, right? I decide for the betterment of my life to stop doing that shit. However, just like an artist who gets out of a bad relationship, goes through breakups, but now I've been good for years, can't I call back to those bad relationships and still make music based on those experiences? Am I right? Am I allowed to write from old pains when I'm in a moment where I'm not feeling that pain anymore? Because maybe I can see it better now. I'm not dealing with the pain. You know, talking about the pain and the pain is different from talking about it or viewing it outside of the pain. That's two different types of music. You know what I'm saying?
I also think it ties to the argument that was then made around the whole, you know, Young Thug case about using lyrics in court, which is, are artists not allowed to play characters, right? And, you know, or artists, or should there be some type of stigma, code, regulation? I don't know what I'm looking for, but should artists have to disclose to us when they are claiming characters or it's not, right? The same way I can go look at a movie and I don't know any popular actors right now, my bad, y'all. But I can look at this movie and be like, okay, this Michael B. Jordan, there you go, back this playing the character because I have enough context here to know this is a movie. A different movie last week playing a cop man, your boxer. Okay, this is clearly a different nigga, this movie, right? Yep. Artists can jump from character to character and not tell it. All right. And we just either have to kind of pick up the pieces and see it, or we just get strong along and believe like, hey, this is just who he is now. So then that's why I fought in the argument. I do believe like, hey, artists should be allowed to play characters, just like movie actors and TV actors and actresses and things like that. But the same point, I think in order for artists to get that privilege, they have to be a lot more transparent with us about when they're outside the character. When you can argue, kill off the magic of the character.
But is the magic just the ability to trick people? People can do that in movies. And you can still experience the movie and love the movies. I think people just haven't given enough of a chance.
Yeah, but you go into a movie open-minded to me and trick. Like you walking
right. That's true.
And be CGI and all that shit. I'm open to being
fair argument. Actually, matter of fact, you go in that bitch, trick me. If I don't get tricked, if I don't fall deep into the world, that is the truth. And people, the fans, so then you try to basically blame the fans of demanding this be real. Right, and seeing real shit happen to these people who are actually a part of it in real life, and basically, I don't know, handling it. Do you see the conversations around? It's very like desensitized and dehumanizing in how they look at artists and these characters when they go through some real shit and just like kind of thinking it's funny. So
there's like people, to your point, like right, people forget like, man, the art might be going through this, man, but it could very real be a real trauma situation that they went through and living in now, or you know, like the cases that I think of so many artists, I know people doing this stuff and I'm talking about their experiences. That's how J. Cole got away with it. You know what I'm saying? J. Cole be like, hey, these are my viewpoints. These are the viewpoints of niggas around me.
Hey, but he made that clear. And you never felt that like it was him being him. And he actually, you know, all the while showed having thoughts against, you know, that's a certain lifestyle. So I feel like, yeah, that's why he got away with it. But like, basically, it needs to be like this. Either you're very, very clear, because we can just see you move from space to space, right? Like Kanye, like dressing and being different for each album, and it's drastically different. So if you show these drastically different characters, then it's pretty obvious that it's characters, right? Or how you present yourself, or a theme, or something like that, right? But if you out here saying I, right, and implying I was riding and pulling up on them and X, Y, and Z in with the ops, then you probably need to have one of them damn little hashtag sponsored ad on your album, like one of those type of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, not the nigga I pretend to be. Like, it needs to be a clear message, like when you click the YouTube video, this ain't real. The first person who does that, ironically, can do it as a concept, and they'll actually blow up for it. You know what I mean? They can lean into something like that. That's the ironic thing about it. Everybody else, you know, it'll just become a norm at some point or whatever. It wouldn't necessarily be as cool. But somebody who does that well, who's far away from that life. I mean, I don't know his life, but like, what's his name? Jordan, not Jordan. The dude who, I'm not racist. What's his name? Joyner Lucas. That's what I'll say, Jordan. Joyner Lucas. Very clear that he's playing character within project to project, and he does it in a very, ironically, like movie cinematic way. All right? That's cool. Cause I saw some song where he was saying some shit that, like, I don't know, this ain't the Joyner I know. You know what I mean? Like, it was some feature, and I was like, oh, I can't believe, maybe it was like him and Future or something like that. And he was talking Future talk. If it was a Future song, he was talking Future talk. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, this ain't Joyner talk, this is Future talk. But, you know, you kind of accept it because he's like, maybe he's just getting in Future's bag for this song, right? But then he going back to his world after the fact. That's completely fine, all right? So, yeah, I mean, that goes into this next question or point at large, where the question is, hip-hop is hurting the Black community. It's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt. That's actually not a question. Let's play this clip. I didn't realize it was from Ray Daniels' podcast.
It's like, yeah, we get out. Some of us get out based on, you know, telling stories. But I feel like today, or even back then, like those stories are no longer just like imagery. It's like real things that's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just regurgitating the energy from their experiences back to the people that's still in the hood. You know what I mean? That I feel like it's just circulating the same energy to just perpetrate the same, you know what I mean? The same vibe, the same violence. We could be the club and we all sing it, but there's somebody in the hood right now who's like going through some tough time that's actually thinking about doing what, you know what I mean? What we doing is celebrating the club or wherever we at. So I feel like it's the reason why some of us is out the hood, but the reason why a lot of us still in the hood.
So the caption on this is hip hop, the new gift and curse to our culture. We can break it down, right? But let's just say surface level. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
I agree as well. But I'm gonna hear you out first.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much exactly like you said, man. Like, this art form, this genre has been probably one of the single biggest contributing factor to getting young hood individuals out of the hood, right? The problem, the caveat is that it now attracts those type of people, right? Those type of people come along and tell those stories. They're entertainers, so they make it sound good, look good, and entertaining. And then it creates this generation of people underneath them who are like, hey, I want to be like this person. And in order for me to be like this person, I have to live this lifestyle. Which you could argue would be cool if music had a higher success rate, right? So think about it, man. Think about it. One artist blows up that convinces 50,000 people to live a similar lifestyle as them, to possibly be where they are. Only maybe one out of 50,000 is going to make it.
I like that.
What happens to the other 49,999 people? They're out in the real world doing fuck shit. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's not like getting celebrated as a programmer and then 49,000 other people become a programmer, and then we see what that success rate looks like and the longevity of it and the quote unquote safety nets and all that stuff that come with it. That's right. I like the success rate point of that argument.
Yeah, like that's literally what I think it is, man. It's like you look at I think it's like you think about just the generations of people that signed up to be rappers thinking it will be easy, and they don't make it, and then like what skill sets are they possibly left with, right? Especially the ones that took like that really don't know any better. Because there are some street artists I've met that like they get the game, right? Like I understand how the back end of the industry works. I'm going to use my street background almost as like a pawn to help me, right? I'm gonna lean into it when I need to, and I'm gonna step out when I need to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very few amount of artists that do that. Most of these hood rappers, bro, just think like, oh, I'm just do some hood shit, some fuck shit, and it's gonna get me there. And it's like, no, it's not the case. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe, or it's a very small percentage of you, but most of you, it's not gonna happen. You're going down, you're going to jail, you're getting caught. You know what I'm saying? And the music ain't gonna pop like you think. Because we are also, I think, a long way away from like music just popping just to the street anymore. I do think there was a time when it was like that, where like you just put a hood nigga over a catchy beat, he was out here. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, okay, no, you talking hood shit. You know what I'm saying? This little white dude over here talking hood shit. I don't know who to believe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just gonna stay neutral in all of it and just go with my ear taking. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we've gotten kind of past that, right? I can't. It's hard to tell whose stories are authentic and not anymore, right?
That's part of the problem. All right. I think I want to even clarify though, before we leave this point, you talked about the success rate in music.
Yeah.
What about the success rate in street rap specifically? And then everything that comes with on top of it. All right. So you're talking about trying to pursue a music career is very hard to do. The odds are very low. They're not in your favor. And then you're adding real world danger to it by being that type of artist and increasing the cost to do it, not just not just life-wise, but lifestyle-wise, because the insurance and then events and venues not wanting to take care of you, security, all these extra things that come with it. And again, I'm not even necessarily talking about who should do it, who shouldn't do it. I'm gonna get to that, right? Like, but I'm just talking about, again, popularizing that as a route in general when we could be pushing people in a different direction. That's my first thing that I really think about based on what you said. But overall, this question and this thought is like one of the legitimately frustrating things about being Black and loving being Black and loving Black culture is the way that street music has overtaken Black culture to the point that in many ways they're synonymous in ways that it shouldn't be. Like, it shouldn't be this motherfucker, this nigga from the suburbs who knows as much as he knows about the rules of the street, and then he's so worried about all of the moving in a street way when he knows nothing about it. He's not living that lifestyle. Why the fuck do you want to go to the hood like a voyeur on vacation just to see what niggas are doing there, right? Like, why are you acting like you relate to this stuff in a way that you do not? I love the artistry. I love the fact that people can come up out of it. I understand people who are in it, like doing what they got to do to get out of it. But one, like, we gotta remember the goal should be to get out, right? Like, that's just the goal. Like, and when I came up, like, and I got my family from backgrounds, like, in many ways, first generation on both sides, really second generation on one side, like, that's cool, like, outside of the hood, right? Now, of course, that means you still got plenty of other family that are, and you are in and out of it, moving around it. But from my purview and the people are around, the goal was to get out, right? Not to have to stay in there. Now, it's just like fun and games for people. And sometimes I get, like, even personally, I don't want to say offended, you know what I mean? But it's just like, I get turned off where it's like, why are you acting like this when this has nothing to do with your background? Like the parents, the lifestyle. I like, all right, so I went to, like, some people won't know what all these areas are and all that stuff means, but I Spar in Decatur, Candler Road, Eastwick was where we lived first. And so this is South DeKalb. My dad's from Newark, New Jersey, all right, which kind of like, if you want to compare to any side of Atlanta, it was way, way, way worse, right? But, you know, there's some reputation that comes with the South DeKalb area. Cleveland Avenue on the west side is where I went to school. That was my grandma's side of things, and then I spent a lot of time with Campbell and Green with Briar. Then I had these weird eras in like the country, and then going to school on like the north side. Yeah, it was. I can go like a lot deeper. Like it was a lot of shit going on, right? Like when parents got divorced and moved to Riverdale. Before I saw Riverdale not be hood and then turn into hood when I first moved there, because that was why my mom like we moved to this other area, because she was like, oh, it's getting hood, whatever. But it like so. Like having all these experiences, it gave me a perspective. Like but I say all that just to then say when I started going to school on the north side, right? I would have all these people like try to act so hard, right? And portray all these things. And it was weird because I was a kid, like the first thing I was like, wait, what? Y'all niggas got two parents? You know what I mean? Like very like unfortunate way to be looking at things as a kid. But I'm like, y'all got nothing to complain about. Y'all living good, right? But then you see like, oh man, they living in big houses. Some of them not even that big now that I'm older and can see it. But like in no way did they leave like dentists and doctors and all that type of shit were like their parents, right? And that's just, so I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Y'all are from over here. Y'all acting like this. Y'all aren't the people that go to my homeschool, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I was never somebody soft or anything like that, but I'm also was never somebody like, I'm gonna do all this extra to portray something. It's like, nah, you don't want to mess with me. I'm gonna handle myself if I can, because of what I grew up around. I'm very well equipped to handle myself, but I'm not about to walk around acting like, I don't know, like I'm some nigga on the corner or like a drug lord or something. And that's how these niggas will act, right? So when you see that impact, that's when I look at like a massive curse on the community, because you have all these people outside of it. It's like, is it better for them to not even know about, like, that's how shit goes? Because they wouldn't act like that unless they know about it. That's the marketing of it all. You know what I mean? Like, like we celebrate it. That's what I am. Like Buddy said, or maybe you said it. We would be in the club, you know, like basically all having a good time to the music, but somebody else is actually living that experience, and us celebrating it makes it seem like something that's worth accomplishing. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying like some of the things that get mentioned in these songs aren't like a celebration for the person who's doing it, but when you celebrate it, the way society, psychology, and incentives work, if we celebrating this shit, somebody's gonna want to become it because they see it being held high, just point blank. And when we add, like, it's not, hip hop did not create like it's not when the first time black people started doing drugs, right? You know what I mean? The first time black and violence and create like existed or anything like that. So let's make that clear. But when you again market that energy, it does expand. You know what I mean? Like it's different than R&B and some of these other, like we just talked about this, talking about the international takeover. Like R&B, the love and all that side kind of left, and then Afro beats came in. You know what I mean? And there was other shit coming in.
Yeah, and I think what was crazy about it too, I thought it was more that I thought about it with the little Mabu shit when they were kind of going viral.
Hey, bro, see, we cut that episode, that didn't come out because the audio messed up. So they didn't know the conversation we had about that, but I wasn't with it.
Yeah, so we had a deep dive about Mabu, and I thought about it, man. To your point, why like people are gonna see it, hear it, get celebrated. Eventually, somebody's gonna want to grow up and be it. Now, the interesting thing about street music, I think used to be the argument, and I kind of tweak it for the day, but used to be the argument of like they didn't talk about both sides, right? They would talk about all the fun parts of being in the hood and not the bad part.
Yeah.
Which I don't ever really think that's true. What I think was true and is still true is that the fun part makes it to the hit songs, which make it to the radio. The sad parts don't make it off the B-side, you know?
Because nobody want to be sad.
That's my point. So you think about all the, I don't know, how old was Lil Mo? Probably like 17. So think about all the, who would have been popping when he was like 8, 9? Well, that would have been like 9 years ago. Who would have been a popping street rapper in 2014? Like Wayne or something, you know what I'm saying? Wayne and YD.
I don't even consider Wayne a street rapper. Might even close to maybe early Wayne almost, but even then, like, yeah.
I said a little bit about why do you like Rich on the Coin? I didn't like pop.
Yeah, that's the closest. Yeah, there we go.
Raising the kids are growing up on YG, Young Thug. Hearing the fun parts about it, hearing about all the bitches they fuck. Offset and make it, the money you made. And then they don't go listen to the B-side about family struggling, you know what I'm saying? Family members on hard drugs, dying or almost dying. Everybody, they skip those parts, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, hey, like, I'm gonna, and that is the scary and beautiful thing about music sometimes, bro. Music has the power to romanticize the most fucked up shit in the world, bro.
That's right. Art does. Movie. Yeah.
Yeah, but it can romanticize the most fucked up shit in the world, bro. Make a bombing look like a field of daisies and you know what I'm saying? Like, crazy. And then to your point, it's like you don't really get to see the impact and who fell for the okey-doke for like decades later. You know what I'm saying? And then you watching like the little Marvel was coming up, you're like, damn,
Bro.
damn, this is what we did. You know what I'm saying?
Right back to school. I saw that shit. I saw niggas turn and change directions and become a character. And I saw some people break that character and get on the right path. And there's some people who, when you look at their life now, they went too far. And again, the ones that was a clear character from, I'm not talking about somebody who came from a certain place, moved a certain way. Cool. Right. But like I saw, like as I had to actively, you know, say, hey, no, I'm going to opt out of things. I'm talking about, there were some guys who were like, they not even having any kind of influence. I'm going to go find the influence and opt into that world. And like you said, you can see the okie doke.
Yeah.
It's just like, damn, bro.
I remember thinking, I used to have this job when I used to work at Ragarama, little 5 Point down there. But I used to work with this. There was a time when I first started working there, there was this kid working there. He was an adult now, but he was a kid when I started working.
Yeah.
15, 16, bro. And I focused with him so heavy because I had never seen somebody at his age making much money. He had the job where he was making just as much as I was making. He had like a side gig during Wu every day. He probably like, think about being 15, 16, making like 4 to 6 bands a month. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It was great money as a 16-year-old. And the suburban kid, from what I could tell, you know what I'm saying? Well, I'm watching him grow up, and I'm watching him kind of like grow into it. I always remember this one day we were just like working. And this is when I just started getting into the music stuff, man. He was like, man, Decorey, if you ever need me to knock a nigga off, I'll do it for you for $1,500. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, if you're like, I know you're in the music shit, if music get sticky, you know what I'm saying? If you ever need somebody to knock somebody out, I'll do it for you $1,500. And I was like, bro, that's so sad, bro. Like, he was like, what you know, bro, you would throw your life away from me for $1,500, bro. I said, that's a terrible deal, because if I had money for it needed, I would definitely take it. I would throw your life away for this $1,500 like it's nothing, but you have to value yourself more.
Yeah.
15 at least hit me with 30 bands, bro, for your life. You know what I'm saying? But it was, I always think about that conversation, because that's the people when it clicked, bro. It's like, man, people are getting the romanticized version of this without realizing the cost of what they're giving up in exchange to live life. Yeah. Then be just like, oh, this shit sound cool. My homie in music, $1,500 knocks me off. It's like, that sounds like a lot of money to a fucking 15-year-old, bro. Yeah. It's like, for me, I'm like, bro, that's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's 1 week of pay, bro. Like, I could throw your whole life away for one paycheck. You know what I'm saying? For some petty shit. And so those are the parts of it that I can't say don't get communicated enough, because if I listen to a lot of street artists, like they do that, like I think our modern street artists are better than the street artists of the olds. Like, you know what I'm saying? They talk about it in the
Better in what way?
They document it a little bit more and talk about it a bit more realistically, I think. Not all of them, but I think the ones that we respect. You know,
I would say in the mid to later 2000s or whatever. Yeah, better than those. Yeah, for sure.
The early 2000s, they was still in that like, this a character, I can milk it. I mean, they're so hard. Like, it's still like that, man.
Well, no, I'm saying like the ones now probably is more apparent, but 2000s to like, I don't know the exact year, somewhere in the 2000s, that's when it really became a thing to be like the fake character. And that's when they started exploiting it in the 90s and late 80s. Like, there was still a lot of people like, it's just seeing the opportunity. Oh, I'm actually living that, and then rising. Not to say there was nobody who was fake in there, but like, it was, because we still hear all the stories where they were actually doing all the stupid shit and thinking now like confused, like, oh man, wait, I can't just like jack up this music executive. Like, that's just how we handle stuff. Like, no, it's a different world of how you handle things on this side of the fence. Like, there's this clip on YouTube, bro. Well, not, yeah, well, I'm sure it's on YouTube. I saw somewhere Ice-T talked about he didn't know you could fake it. Yeah, he was like, yeah, like that. This album cover, like that was my bitch. that was my card. That was my, like, all of it was mine, because I didn't know faking it was an option. So there was the time that was that. But then once something becomes successful, we know people going, again, incentivized because it's being celebrated, or there's monetary incentive to do it. Like, so it had to get popularized first, and then that's why I feel like the 2000s is when it started to get violated.
Yeah, and I always have to remember, my grandma told me that, man. She said like the reason we don't really see hood niggas in today's generation because all the hood niggas were the R&B singer.
Yes, yeah, like bro, oh my God, it was one guy, and he was one of them dudes that I used to work with, and he was a lot older than me. I think his name was G, if I remember correctly, from Chicago, and he was. And had been, I was probably 20 at the time. He had been, like, he just got out of prison, was probably like in his 40s. He was there for like 20, 30 years, something like that, right? And then he was talking about like his song back in the day, and like prom and all this other shit. And it'd just be all kind of music that, today, like, you wouldn't associate with a hood nigga, but all they had were those type of songs now. Right, today the hood people, dudes, a lot of them don't even want to be caught listening to like certain type of like R&B and love music or whatever. Where it's like, nah, back then, bro, they were all listening to the same shit, bro. And yeah, and like you said, it could be the actual R&B singer who's gonna like beat your ass. So you can't tell the difference. But that was good in one way, because you don't need to see that side of me. You get that side of me if you cause it to come out. If it's like. My dad, bless his heart, because like I said, he's the one who got out for the family, but he still has a very much so. I didn't overreact. I gave, it was an equal opposite reaction. You know what I mean? You think I'm tripping? No, I did what was a fair response to what you did, right? And his version of a fair response just happens to be something that many people wouldn't consider a fair response. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like you said, your grandma, bro, like, bro, she's spot on, like, because I never thought of it in the context of this conversation. It would just always be like funny when you be like, damn, bro, like this is the same dude who moved like that.
So we got there. I was like, man, like y'all, I was like, that's unfair about something. Y'all generation didn't even have these type of artists. She's like, yes, we did. I just was the R&B singer. So like, yeah, which was her point, because we was talking about something similar to this conversation. Her point was that, like, at least our artists had decorum to hide it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now they say y'all artists just like take her with it,
bruh. Because there were more code and respect in then of how you want the community to represent itself. You know what I'm saying?
That's like the unspoken language. Like, hey man, we in a bad nigga light right now, man. We gotta hold it together for the race PR. You know what I'm saying? There's no race PR right now.
No, it's not. That shit is wild. It's running wild. And it's a lot of okie doke going on. I feel like we fell for quite a bit of okie doke. And funny you said, when you talk about the okie doke in the future, I think a huge okie doke that is going to be experienced, unfortunately, men and women of many and all races, this red pill, blue pill shit, this hardcore manosphere and hardcore the other side. And these kids and these male, female, they're going to grow up and they're going to realize how bullshit a lot of it was, man. Like, hey, but again, some of these guys are playing characters. Like, I'm going to say all this shit because the kids are going, like, they fall in love with it. I get views calling all girls bitches, or like, no, I don't even say that generalization. The deeper part of the fear tactics of how they say build these relationships and how things go. And, bro, and now we at the point, like, look, there's always been conflict between men and women, right? Misunderstanding, miscommunication, frustration. But, bro, these people motherfucking hate each other for real. Like, I've never heard dudes, like, hate women so much. That's going to be an interesting okie doke conversation that goes back to the marketing and branding and how people just take in these conversations, and what it looks like. I think that's a good place to end this episode. I'm Fred and Sean.
I'm Corey.
We out.
Peace.